What happens in relationship when one person takes the one-up position or the position of knowledge or the position of leadership or domination? Maybe this person is the know-it-all or the person who feels like they have to guide the relationship. Well, it necessitates that the other person takes the one down position, meaning they're subservient or they're responsive or they're secondary to the primary position. And the problem with this dynamic is it is not relational. There's not space for both people to come forward and co create, co lead, and essentially have true intimacy. In this episode, we're going to break this down with some examples and some solutions. Let's go.
So to be clear here, this actually, what's cool about this or understanding this dynamic is that it actually applies in so many different relationships. So many relationships just for varying reasons slip into this one up, one down position. And as Luke is saying, it gets in the way of actual closeness. And if you could just take a moment to sense into when you've been in that one down position, we all have over the course of our life. What does it feel like? Like, what does it do to the quality of the relationship, to the sense of safety in the relationship, to the intimacy in the relationship? And what do you do as a result? How do you adapt to being kind of put into this one down position? Just take a moment so as to make this real. Great. Thanks for doing that. And I think it would be great, Luke, if you were to start off because this is very real for you. You know, you've had some recent real insights from your life that are informing this understanding, this teaching.
Where we learn this dynamic from is from our core caregivers growing up. So, parents, mom and dad, your guardians. The question we often ask is which parent or which person, caused the most pain or um, hurt in your life. And typically, to a various degree, one of the parents there'll be a kind of tougher relationship with, and we will experience having this one down dynamic with the parent that takes the one up, and that relationship is inherently one up, one down because of time and age and the roles. But the feeling of being in the one down position primarily is the feeling of fear, which can get intermixed with hurt. Anger can sometimes get in there if there's a space for that. Depends how domineering the one up is. And then of course to round out our quadrant of painful emotions, sadness slash grief. And sometimes we like to add our friend shame in there, which has a unique twist and thwart. But essentially the one down position or the position that's being demeaned or diminished feels like they have to hold all of the emotional weight and pain of the relationship in order to preserve functionality. My dad wasn't around growing up much, and when he was often irritable, not all the time, but often irritable, and I learned to be careful and to walk on eggshells. I was afraid. There was a background feeling of fear in my body around I don't want to get yelled at. I don't want to experience the ire of his raised voice. And so I distanced myself. I protected myself emotionally and, kind of found a way to tolerate being with him. And as I moved into my 20s and had more agency and knowledge, I began to challenge him. And I learned to set boundaries with him and to confront him. And the first real illustration of this was literally a physical fight in a restaurant, yelling at the top of our lungs, throwing tables, and making it very clear I was not to be dominated by him ever again. What was fascinating is immediately after that happened, I cried for hours. So much grief was in my body that I had been holding my entire childhood that I could finally release. There was finally enough safety that I had created for myself to release all of this pain. And it was a beautiful, wonderful kind of arriving of my sovereignty. But what I didn't realize until much later, in fact, recently, is that what I landed on with regards to the one up position, my relating to the one up, someone who wants to take the dominating stance or the kind of, it's not necessarily alpha, it's I'm over you, is when I get around that kind of energy, I can set a boundary. I can say no. I can find my voice. But I default to kind of a tolerable distance of functionality. Like, what distance do I need to take with this person to be able to have functionality in our relationship and to tolerate them? But I'm definitely walled off. I'm in the avoidant on the spectrum of avoidant and anxious. I'm on the avoidant walled off. I'm not completely walled off, but I'm mostly heavily boundaried. I'm a little bit open, but I'm my shield is up because I'm like, no, this person has proven they're not safe. We're not going to have emotional intimacy. We're not going to have real connection. We'll be connected functionally, but we won't have real closeness. And that's really what I have in any relationship in my life where I'm with someone who's got some of my dad's energy. And it's not even my dad's anymore. It's just they take the dominant position in whatever brand or flavor of it. Though that shielding comes right up, and I'm like, okay, we are not going to have intimacy. Back off, back away. Enough, enough of you. You're you're too much for my nervous system. Okay, right there. Yeah, at that distance we can coexist. And I just settle for that. Like that's how my life's going to be.
And Luke, how does this to the guy out there that is finding himself though in the one down position in his marriage often? How do we how would you say he can start to shift that, right? Like maybe he hasn't even gotten to the point you got to, right? Which was like a level of confidence that you can even tolerate, like you can set a boundary, you can establish your own sovereignty and functionality, in the space or while being in relationship to this person that tends to take the one up.
Yeah, it's when we're reaching into really the pain points around our wounding with regards to attachment and relationship. In the one up, one down dynamic, I'm above you, I'm below you. Both partners need to make a move. The one up needs to be willing to come down. The one down needs to be willing to come up. And what coming up means is speaking up, is speaking truth to power, truth to the one up position that's dictating and kind of controlling the culture of the relationship. They're both difficult to do. They're both hard to do. In some ways, what I was stating, that the tolerable distance, once you establish like the tolerable functional distance, which could be a great distance, you can just set up camp there in your marriage. Like, okay, yeah, till death do us part, whatever she says, I'll do. She's my wife. She complains. That's what women do. Yada, 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 the default cultural bullshit story. We have to break that apart. There's a background of depression and anxiety. It's in the shadows of the relationship. It's in the latent pathways of the body. I promise you, in that dynamic, there's there's physiological agents. I'll name them: alcohol, sugar, caffeine, gluten, dairy, that are just clogging up the interstitiums and pipes. Nothing wrong with any of those, right? But at the right dosage, you just clog the whole system up. because what there is to feel under that is, the four primary painful emotions: anger, grief, fear. We throw our friend shame in there, and they're they're hard to feel. It's painful. So the one down, the first move is to get sober to the depression in the relationship. It's the relationship is depressed. This is an interesting idea. Okay, I'm depressed, you're depressed, but in relationship, there's another living entity. The relationship is depressed. It's pressed down. There's no vitality in it. It's laden and loaded with these four emotions and the physiological agents that are weighing them down. So the first move is is sobriety. It's kind of admitting the truth. And what people will say colloquially is, "I'm not happy. I'm not happy. I'm not happy," which is a euphemism for "I'm depressed."
Yeah, that as you describe all that, the I guess the kind of image of this older couple that I often see, some version of it walking around. They've been together, I would imagine, some decades. You've got, got Pam, you got Phyllis dragging around John. John, John, grab the bag. No, not that bag. No, he's like, okay, fine. And you see that tension, that contortion to like endure this one down position, knowing that if he were to say, "Hey, Henry, don't talk to me that way," or whatever kind of activation, that it's just he's gonna be put back down in his place. And I often reflect on how did it end up here, right? Like if you were to act, it may be easy to think for some people at least like, oh, Phyllis, I mean, what a bitch, right? It's if she were just a little kinder as a person, that would be maybe a viable, you could put the blame on her. But these dynamics co-evolve over time, right? The John comes into that relationship initially, as most relationships start, otherwise they wouldn't really get any foothold, uh, on par, right? Two people in love, co-creating a life together. But over time, something devolves, like this unprocessed, undeveloped pattern, say in John, just gets reinforced, which is like, I guess I just have to adapt to this dominance because it's not safe. I don't know how to confront it, to activate my nervous system in the face of it because I was so entrained to deactivate, like you were describing, I'm a small child. I can't, I'm not gonna stand up to this big person and claim my right to be treated with more respect as an equal, as a sovereign being. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. I know it's really painful when we lay it all out like this. Like, gosh, wow, this is kind of why we end up where we do relationally. All that stuff from our childhood, if it's not ever resolved or looked at very thoroughly, it just eventually kicks back in after the honeymoon phase of relational love and the endocrine surge of all these incredible hormones that feel amazing, and all that dies off, the attachment style kicks in, and we attach and latch on in whatever ways we were taught as children.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Play
Oh,
that out.
and I forgot to give a little bit more, I don't know, explanation to Phyllis's behavior. I bet, Phyllis is coming in with like, "Hey, I want to be met. Like, could you just meet? Could you t tell me what's going on for you? Tell me what you need. You know, really stand like give me some pushback without making me feel like I'm wrong, I'm a bitch, right? Like, meet me, with some strength here. That's is the underlying need. And every time that doesn't happen, it's frustrating. And it's like, okay, I guess I've just got to like kind of take charge of this relationship because I don't this person is not activated enough to do so. And of course, also this is um, a pattern that happens in the reverse, right? Obviously, it kind of goes without saying, but just as common, maybe common, who knows? It also happens that John is in the one up position. It may look differently, right? May hold a lot of power and secrets, and you don't need to know about that, Phyllis. It doesn't concern you. Kind of infantilizing, kind of taking this kind of patronizing, patriarchal stance, this one-up stance.
Yeah.
So, what do we do about this, right?
No,
These
I'm getting
patterns, right?
getting more depressed now.
It's depressing, right? It's sad, right? Because you have you have two people that are playing out unconsciously, really dis really dysfunctional, or at the least dysfunctional, at the greatest that just kind of harmful, rewounding patterns because they don't know how to get out of them,
Yeah.
right? Because it's actually we're speaking it in words here and now, but it's not like, some guys listen to this. All right, let's turn it on. Like it's so deep. It's such a pattern, right? And there's a long process of repatterning that, in this case for a man that is just so familiar of taking a one down position and adapting around the domineering energy of his spouse.
It's a little more functional, still challenging, but if you're a guy out there who lands more in the one up position and your partner just kind of adapts to you and does what you want and you're leading, um, there's a move you can make to establish more intimacy and that you can start to practice pretty quickly. And the one up, the thing about the one up about having the power is it feels good. Like why would you want to give power over? Like you get to determine everything. You get to dictate the culture of the family dynamic. So you got to be willing to give that up, not entirely, but in a certain sense to share it. And so from the one up position, if you come down and start to get really curious, how and here's the question to ask: what pain is my wife holding for me that I'm not holding? And if you're wondering what that might be, again, go back to the four primary emotions, painful ones: anger, sadness, fear, and shame. She's holding some of that, probably a lot of that for you. And if you're like, no, she's not, yes, she is. That's what's happening. And you need to sober up to that. That's happening. And I want to paint this picture really clearly. One of the most common major diseases that uh, kills women is cancer. Cancer, breast cancer, and uterine or gynecological cancer. Now, I'm making a direct link between holding pain, emotional pain in your body, and the physiological process of consumption, consuming the fluids of the body's vitality when that pain stays in the body and corrodes the functionality of the tissues that are literally engineered to generate and sustain life. It's very common, it's very known in the field of oncology and uh, gynecological medicine. And particularly in Eastern medicine, we look at this pattern all the time because women typically are holding the one down position. And I've heard of I've worked with a case recently. I've seen this many times in my practice. The wife dies of one of these cancers, and the husband is grief stricken. All of the sudden, all the pain that she was holding lands on him, and he feels everything she was tolerating and how much he misses her. He misses the role she was playing. And so I'm taking it not really to its extreme example, to its real, literal, and currently persisting example. This is what happens in the one up, one down position. One person's holding all the pain, and eventually that gets revealed in the system. That depression lands, and it's depressing and it's sad. And what the one up can do is come down and get curious and go, "Whoa, how much is my like literally make a inventory of everything your wife's doing to maintain the emotional health of the family system." It's
Mhm.
not always visible work. Like my wife is constantly scanning our daughters, what they're doing, their emotional health, what they're eating, their doctor's appointments, etc., and so on. And it's on her mind 100% of the time. If not, maybe I'm exaggerating a little, 90% of the time. She's focused on our daughters. So one up position, men, we got to get real curious, do an inventory on our women and like, what are they holding? What are they worrying about, concerned about? That's the one up. The one down is to do the same inventory list of if you're in the one down position in your marriage, do an inventory of everything you're concerned and worried about and holding and sending emotional energy towards. Similarly, I promise you, your adrenals are tanked. You're having prostate issues. You might be having erectile functionality issues. You could be tired all the time. Depression is there, perhaps anxiety, sexual dysfunction of all kinds, maybe porn addictions in there, substance use perhaps. But it's it takes a shitload of energy to manage pain in your body. And the confrontation of that is important and we need to inventory it thoroughly. We can then bring that list to our partner, whether you're in the one up or one down, and say, here, here's what I've been holding. I don't want to hold it alone anymore. Or I don't want you to hold this alone anymore. I want to be a partner. I want partnership.
Yeah, that's the remedy. And I just want to underscore the tone at which you bring that forth, right? The the leadership tone, it's not plaintive, right? It's not coming from a sort of like a place that's complaining. It's coming from a place of this is what I see happening, or this is what I want to know about, and I want us to figure this out because it's corroding our intimacy. It's corroding our ability to connect deeply. We need to figure this out, right? It's coming from that place. It's not blaming. Like we got ourselves into this. We have, as we all do, we have unprocessed patterns, just default ways of attaching, and they're playing out, and not in a great way. They're playing out in a way that does not facilitate our closeness. That puts you or I in this one-up position. That does not feel right. It's coming from there. It's initiating that kind of conversation. Obviously, like having some help to facilitate this conversation, going to some couples therapy, relationship coaching to because it's a delicate one, right? It's like it's delicate, it's complex, it's nuanced to to repattern something that maybe may have been in place for 20, 30 years. Or, I mean, if you really want to take it back, right? I mean, the pattern itself within you to maybe go one down or one up is longer than that. Um, just to bring in a little bit more detail into this in terms of what it's like for the man in the one up position here, like and and how it might play out in a let's say sort of successful like yeah, how you may resolve this. I want to bring in my personal experience with this. I drift in my relationship. I drift towards the one up position. It's really interesting to watch, right? Over the 20 plus years we've been together, um that's the pattern, right? It's just and and initially it would be her just kind of falling apart in the dynamic, in the sense of like I don't feel connected with you. I feel like you're always the one who's got his shit together, and meanwhile you know I feel all these feelings. And if pulling back, you can see that it's like the human condition is bifurcated, because the human condition is both full of deep and like never fully processed and painful and vulnerable emotions on one side, and on the other side it's full of just genius, like functionality and making do and perseverance and strength. It's both. That's the human condition. It exists within us. But you get into a relationship, and it's interesting to watch how that can split people. And so in my marriage, like the tendency is for my wife to hold all the like so much of this vulnerability and the unknowns and the insecurities of being a human in this world, and how do we navigate it all. And that's real. That's part of our experience, right? And for me to be like, well, I kind of got a handle on it. Do you want some coaching on that? And because that's I like to be in that place. It feels good. It feels good to have the answers, to feel. And that's just not real, because it actually I'm not my full self, because my full self also includes like deep insecurities and places where I'm just overwhelmed and don't know have any answer to what to do. And if I don't actively bring that, we end up losing our connection. We end up creating this painful dynamic where she feels like something's like the shame kicks in. Something's wrong with me because you seem to always have your shit together and I'm the one struggling.
God, you nailed it, Ryan. You just put me in a trance. What you just said right there, something's wrong with me. Um, that's the implicit unconscious agreement that has to be fed in the one up, one down dynamic. The one down has to take on the belief something's wrong with me, with
Right.
them, with us. And it's more than just a belief, it's a vibration that then we just just stack all the pain right on top of. Well,
mm,
I'm fucked up.
mhm,
Something's wrong. I'm not
mm,
strong enough. I don't know. I don't know how to do. I don't know what to say. My mind's blank. I'm flooded. I'll just be the sponge for all the emotion.
mm,
And, and this is why talking about it is, I think talking about it, we can feel what we can feel underneath all that pain is that dysfunctional belief that we try to attempt to build some kind of functional edifice around. Well, I already know something's wrong, so I guess I can live with that and adapt, and we'll just make do. Like now we've got a mortgage and we've got kids and obligations and debt, and we just okay. Give me the antidepressants and give me the anti-anxiety. Yeah, I'll take the sleep medication now too. And my blood pressure's high. Give me that one too. Cholesterol, fuck yeah, give me that as well. Okay, cool.
mm. Yeah. Yeah. It needs a real reckoning, like the because it does lead to this full-on emotional, physical, relational dysfunction. It's amazing how much the human can endure. And yet we obviously are here saying, let's create a world where we're not just enduring and surviving. Let's create a world where people are real about and vulnerable, because that's just the reality of living a human experience where there aren't relationships. We're trying to create a world where there aren't relationships where, oh yeah, one person's like there's something wrong with me and the other is, yeah, there's nothing wrong with me. Like that's just not reality. It's a delusion, some arrangement that it unconsciously gets made and plays out. So today, we did our best to name that, describe that, and offer some possibilities of how you might in your own relationship name it, shift it. And if you want more help, we're here for that. It's what we're doing. We're having real conversations, facilitating fundamental change in how men show up in a relationship. So visit us at beingmen.net, reach out to us. We're available for conversations, see how you might to help you figure out how you might, engage yourself in the deeper work that we offer. Thanks as always for listening. Till next time.